Back for another exciting year of VCU basketball. Led by Coach Anthony Grant, the black and gold are prepared to defend their title as CAA champs. VCU will bring their up-tempo style of play back to the Alltel Pavilion at the Siegel Center, where the rowdy Rams student section will make it difficult for any opponent. So get ready for the action and relive the excitement of VCU basketball next on Ram Replay.
The 62nd meeting between Richmond and Virginia Commonwealth University. And we have it for you here on Ram Replay. This crosstown rivalry coming up now on our VCU Game of the Week. Hi again, everyone. Robert Fish here. Our broadcast partner, Mike Ellis, alongside. And Mike, this is a contrast of styles, similar to what we saw on Wednesday night when VCU took on William and Mary. Richmond may be a little bit more deliberate than the Tribe was, but VCU will have to be prepared for tonight's action.
Well, it's certainly a scheduling break, Robert, to have a preparation like we had with William and Mary on Wednesday night and to have a similar prep on Saturday with Richmond. If you had a game in between those two, it'd be a little bit more difficult. So Rams catch a break there.
And we know that the Rams are coming in here trying to prepare for this type of style and work in a similar fashion as they did last week. However, they've got the opportunity to pick up another win against a crosstown rival. This series, VCU has done pretty well in the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, it started to assert a little bit of control, Robert. But, you know, Coach Mooney and his gang are going to have a nice game plan for the Rams tonight. And when you play a team that can shoot it the way Richmond's capable of shooting it, Robert, all bets are off in a big rivalry like this.
Yeah, and one of the things to be concerned about in watching the Spiders tonight is David Gonzalez. He's a very solid player who can put points up in a hurry against this team.
Well, they have a nice inside-outside attack, and they're with Gonzalez on the perimeter, and then they have an inside-outside big guy in Dan Giroux. He can score with his back to the basket, Robert, but he can take you outside and score from beyond that arc, and now he presents some matchup problems for the Rams.
The Rams' 1-2 combination of Schuler and Maynor has been outstanding, and Giroux and Gonzalez for Richmond have scored double figures just one time in their ball games this year, whereas Maynor and Schuler have been a little bit more potent.
Well, and Richmond has had some success in their early schedule getting leads. They've had trouble holding leads, and I think, you know, Rams tend to break away late in ball games, Robert, and that'll be a nice contrast in styles to see how that plays out tonight as well.
All right, it's the Farm Bureau Insurance Black and Blue Classic, and it's up next on Ram Replay. VCU and Richmond, right here on our Ram Replay Next Day Replay Game of the Week on your community idea station, Richmond's Public Television, WCVW. Back with the start of this game right after this. After taking care of CAA for William and Mary on Wednesday for their first conference win, the VCU Rams now turn their attention to another longtime rival as the Richmond Spiders enter the Alltel Pavilion at the Siegel Center, continuing the crosstown battle. After a disappointing loss at Hampton, the Rams' 1-2 punch of Eric Maynor and Jamal Shuler has led VCU to 2 straight wins. Shuler had a career-high 30 points, and Maynor poured in 25 for a combination of 55 points in a Rams win over ACC opponent Maryland, 85-76. The twosome then struck again Wednesday night, a 71-57 win over William and Mary, combining for 36 points. While the veteran combo has carried the Rams, a cast of newcomers led by Larry Sanders and Ed Nixon have lent support to the Rams' winning ways in the last 2 games as well. Now the crosstown rivalry with Richmond takes center stage, a contrast in styles with the Rams' up-tempo pace and Richmond's more deliberate attack. The Farm Bureau Insurance Black and Blue Classic is next on Ram Replay, the VCU Game of the Week.
Major funding for Ram Replay is made possible in part by the Virginia Lottery, more than $3 billion to K-12 public education since 1999. The Virginia Lottery, helping Virginia's public schools. Virginia Farm Bureau, because agriculture matters. Wachovia, free checking and rated #1 in customer satisfaction for the 5th straight year. Are you with Wachovia? Hunting Hawk Golf Course, Greater Richmond's premier public golf course, ranked 3rd best public course in the nation by Golf Digest 2002. Great golf, naturally. Virginia Paint Company Paint and Decorating Centers, home of Benjamin Moore Paints. We make it simple, you make it beautiful. Beauty that lasts. And JetBlue Airways, more for less. Committed to offering low fares to an always growing list of destinations. Make yourself at home, plush leather seats, and plenty of legroom.
Tonight at the Alltel Pavilion at the Siegel Center, the Richmond Spiders and the VCU Rams in the Farm Bureau Insurance Black and Blue Classic. A sold-out crowd. And we are set to begin action tonight, Robert Fish, with Mike Ellis as we get things underway here this evening, Mike. As we talked about earlier, two teams that play in various ways. The ball in the air and the tap controlled, last touched by a Spider. It'll be VCU's basketball, so a good start for the Rams as we get things underway here tonight.
When a little shake-up in the lineup, Robert, with Kirill Pashalnikov getting to start. Interesting twist for Rams fans.
A couple of games ago, VCU had changed its starting lineup yet again, so Pashalnikov does start in this one. Anderson driving, kicking off on the wing to Nixon, now to Schuler, right away for 3.
The game couldn't start any better, Robert. Great ball movement. We reversed it against that zone and found the best shooter in the country from that sideline, Jamal Shuler.
49% shooter behind the arc. That is first in the CAA, so a 3-0 advantage. Working it is Gaston Maliba out front. Pashalnikov knocked it away. Maliba got it back. This is the freshman Anderson. The Spiders have a very young basketball team. Anderson dishes it off. Inside, Giroux traveled with the ball as he went up, then came back down.
Well, with all this back cutting and screening over the top, Robert, you're going to have to face a lot of defensive challenges, and the Rams responded greatly there. Great job of rotation for Kirill Pashalnikov and Michael Anderson.
Anderson inbound to Maynor and then gets it back. Spiders do put a little pressure on. Maynor catches the deflected ball ahead to Nixon. Schuler again, and another three-point shot. And the Rams up 6-0 from the get-go.
Ball never touched the floor, Robert, coming down against pressure. That's the way you beat a zone press. Keep it in the air, move it down the floor.
Inside, Dan Giroux with the ball. Down low, Pashalnikov trying to stop any penetration there. And he'll be called for the personal foul. That will be foul number 1 on Kirill. Certainly the way VCU wanted to start this game, maybe not so much so for Chris Mooney, the Spiders head coach. Anderson off the inbound, the freshman out of Georgia. Averages 7.8 points a game. Now inside Maliba down in the paint. Little jump hook won't go, and the rebound pulled out by VCU. Anderson gets it ahead to Eric Maynor. Into the front court. Maynor works. Now backs it back out and sets the offense yet again.
It's a matchup. They're playing against the matchup. Looks like man-to-man, Robert, but everybody has his own responsibility.
Pashalnikov around the screen goes Maynor. Then Schuler, another 3. This one's off the mark. And Butler tracks down the rebound into the front court. The Spiders on the loose. Anderson on that wing. And now Anderson takes it back to the side. Butler down low to Giroux. Giroux trapped on that block. Eventually spins through the lane. Pashalnikov the block. And we'll go the other way for VCU with a 6-0 advantage. Here's Maynor pulling up, dishing it down low. And Pashalnikov will be fouled by David Gonzalez from behind as the ball went out of bounds, but Pashalnikov had gotten tangled up. Here's a look at Maynor earlier on the pass right there, and the ball went right through the lane with no one at home. So Gonzalez whistled for his first foul. Eric Maynor will pull the trigger on the inbound play for VCU now. 6-0 lead, right in the lane. The touch to Pashalnikov. Got 2 Spiders in the air, and eventually Molina picks up the personal foul.
That's a great look for Michael Anderson. He drew the double team, was savvy enough to get it over to Kirill, who got fouled going up. Great start, Robert. Very unselfish play. You see Michael with the nice dump to Kirill down low.
A good touch pass from Anderson, as you said. So here's Pashalnikov now. 6'8" sophomore out of Russia, but the free throw a little bit short here. Kind of pushed that one a little bit. He did get the start tonight instead of Larry Sanders here, as Eric Maynor has tried to get this game off to a good start for VCU. They lead 6-0 on the three-point shooting from Jamal Shuler. Second shot, that is good, making a 7-0 Rams advantage now. They'll put some pressure on. Giroux leaves it in the backcourt for Anderson, considered to be the best playmaker among A-10 newcomers coming in this year. Three-point shot in the corner, and it's Ryan Butler out of Richmond, Virginia, from Douglas Freeman High School, knocking down the 3. At the other end, Anderson, a pump fake, right down the lane. Can't get it to go. Pashalnikov battles, and a ball deflected out of bounds. 7-3. VCU with the advantage here in the first 4 minutes of the contest. Butler into Anderson. Now Anderson working in the middle of the floor. Good speed, takes it all the way to the line. Dishes to Gonzalez. However, his shot no good, and Michael Anderson pulls down the rebound. Quickly ahead to Eric Maynor. Maynor works out front, right at the free throw circle, top of the key. Shot's a little bit too much.
Yeah, you don't want that one that fast from the shot clock.
Anderson goes the other way now. Out to Gonzalez. Gonzalez gets it back, and a whistle on the drive. Maynor with a little bit of a hand check, perhaps. It will be called on Eric Maynor.
Well, Richmond seems to have settled themselves, Robert, with that three-pointer from the corner from Ryan Butler, and then Eric Maynor with a little lapse in judgment there. You can get that shot anytime you want in the shot clock. You know, that's a contested 22-footer. We can get that anytime. I think Anthony wants a little more patience.
Omar Silla's checked into the lineup now for Richmond. Giroux off the inbound, drives in, around Ed Nixon, and scores.
Well, Giroux, as we talked about in the pregame, he's one of those guys, he's an inside-outside postman. He's certainly capable of putting it down and going to the basket or shooting that jumper. He's a tough matchup.
Now, the Spiders have gotten it back to within a 2-point game, surviving that early run. Schuler working with Silla on him. So Omar Silla draws a defensive assignment. Schuler pounces to Anderson. Then gets it back from Michael. Now back in the corner to Anderson baseline. Got Silla in the air, lost the ball. Diving for it. Spiders get tangled up with Anderson and also Giroux. The alternate possession would go to Richmond. So they've survived the early punch as we take a look here and see the fake by Anderson, but he lost the ball on the drive.
Well, the Richmond guys are committing to ball fakes, Robert, and that's opening up drive to the basket for VCU. Got to hold on to it and you can finish those.
Breakaway out to Butler for Richmond on the offensive attack. 7-5, the Rams ahead, as you see there at the bottom of the screen in the early going. Good switch off and a double team on Gonzalez. Cross court to Anderson into the lane. He'll pull up short and miss the jumper. Now Eric Maynor off the rebound will go to work on the offensive end. Coming up on her first timeout. Around the screen, Maynor hesitates, it's cut off. There's that matchup we talked about earlier, Mike. Maynor trying to find a way in the lane. Little fall away, spinning jumper's good from Eric Maynor.
Well, you saw the mismatch. We saw the same thing up at Maryland on Sunday. Eric getting mismatched out front one-on-one. Dangeros just can't contain Eric off the dribble.
Anderson gets it ahead to Butler. Butler off on the wing to Giroux, then down low to Gonzalez. Spinning on Schuler and a reach in. And a whistle and a foul coming up. Going to go against VCU, and we will get to our first stoppage in play. All right, it's a pretty good action here to start this contest. 9-5 in favor of VCU as Eric Maynor goes to work to get the Rams the 4-point lead. It's time now for our couch potato of the game. Check in with Rams public address announcer Hunter Elliott across the way.
We're looking for that couch potato of the night. Sofa Creations is looking for the couch potato. If our camera lands on you, you and two of your friends will enjoy the rest of the game seated courtside in that plush leather recliner and couch while you dine on hot Papa John's pizza all night long. Hey, it doesn't stop there, Ram fans. If you can sink the free throw in the second half, you'll go home with a $250 gift certificate, compliments of Sofa Creations. Who's going to be the couch potato on Saturday night in the pavilion? The young lady with the white sweatshirt. Yes, indeed. Hey, come on down and bring two of your friends. You're sitting on the front row, eating pizza, watching hoops. You gotta love it.
4-point advantage as VCU raced off to a 7-0 lead, but the Spiders chipped away before the Rams got the last basket. Mike, the early numbers so far right about equal in some areas. VCU shooting the ball maybe a tad bit better, but it's only one made shot difference this early. Both teams have taken 6 shots, and the turnovers battle so far, both teams taking care of the basketball.
Well, you know, Robert, both teams are kind of feeling each other out right now. They're in that process, you know, it's like the early rounds of a fight. Taking, you know, throwing little jabs here and there, but no real knockout punches yet. Tempo hasn't been established. Richmond's actually, I think, looking comfortable playing a little faster than I thought they might want to play, and that's a credit to them. And then they've bothered us a little bit defensively when we haven't scored quick in transition off with threes from Jamal. We've had a little bit of trouble scoring against their half-court defense. So the game's starting out in the feeling out process.
Well, there you see the numbers there. By the way, we want to remind everybody that this coming Saturday against Longwood, VCU's teaming up with the Reach Out and Read program for that Saturday game. Bring a children's book to the game. and you can get the opportunity for a half-price general admission ticket. So that is one book, one ticket. Reach Out and Read is a nonprofit program working to make the literacy promotion a standard part of pediatric primary care. VCU is teaming up with Henrico High School's Alexis Bennett as a partner in this program. So that'll be this coming Saturday against Longwood. Find out more about that. Here's David Gonzalez at the line in a 9-5 ball game. Early on in this one with 15:23 to go, the free throw rattles out. Well, Gonzalez is a pretty good player. Sophomore, Marietta, Georgia. Had 25 against Memphis. Nearly left after last season, almost transferred out, but decided to stay with the program at Richmond. And he's a very talented guard out of Marietta, Georgia, and showed a lot of flash and a lot of promise last year. Makes 1 out of 2.
Well, he's one of the Spiders, Robert, that's athletically gifted. And he's extremely strong. He's that guy that can go in and bang around with some of these VCU athletes and have some success.
A little pressure now. Cross court here to Anderson. Gonzalez picks him up. Schuler, the pass short hops him. Butler up with a loose ball. Butler left of the lane, got Anderson in the air, but his shot is short, and the rebound's deflected out of bounds over the top by Omar Silla. Ryan Butler didn't quite finish that one off. As Silla, you see there. There is Butler. He's out of Douglas Freeman. Douglas Freeman product. His father, Jeff Butler, played at Richmond as well in the late 70s, and Jeff's here tonight across the way in the stands. Win back to Maynor as they work it out front. VCU with the basketball. TJ Gwynn in the lineup. There's Sanders in now as well for VCU. Across to Maynor. Down low, Anderson posted up nicely. Cross the lane to Sanders. Ball knocked out of bounds. Looks like a foul on the Spiders in that scrum underneath.
Well, that's twice now that we've gone to the low post, and Richmond looks like their game plan is going to be to double VCU in that low post, and it leaves that opposite block open, Robert. We found them both times. A little bit slow on the rotation there, trying to get to Larry Sanders, and again, we go to the foul line.
Ryan Butler does get his first foul. Now here's Larry Sanders. He had started the last couple of games before this one. Had played particularly well in those 2 games. Comes off the bench so far tonight. And the free throw is good from Sanders. 3.3 points a game. A junior out of Fort Pierce, Florida. Kevin Hovde, Jerron Giddings check into the lineup for Richmond. As Sanders, you see at the line. His second shot will be good for Sanders. So 11-6 advantage for the Rams, and they'll press off of those made free throws. Gonzalez and Anderson got a little quick with it, lost it, throws it ahead into the front court to Giddings. He gives it back to Gonzalez, and Richmond works on the offensive attack. Gonzalez down the lane. There's a whistle on the drive. It will not be a shooting foul. And a reach in across the body, Jamal Shuler. That's 2 on him now.
That's big. That sends Jamal to the bench. You see some of that athleticism from Gonzalez we talk about there, and Jamal with the slap down there draws that second one. That takes a primary scorer off the floor for the Rams.
And that makes a tough go for VCU, and Schuler has contributed mightily of late. He and Eric Maynor have been a 1-2 punch quite a bit. Spiders work on the offensive attack. Gonzalez around the perimeter. It's 11-6 Rams. Here's the entry pass to Giddings, but he's pushed out up high. Around the perimeter, Richmond works into the lane. Gonzalez kicks it in the corner to Anderson. The runner hit the side of the backboard. Gwynn tips to Roselle, who's in, and now a whistle and a foul on Richmond. And it will go against David Gonzalez, and now that's his second personal foul.
Robert, you see some of the anxiousness defensively in both teams, going after every pump fake, every ball fake. I mean, guys are flying at ball handlers, and that's opened up drives on both ends of the floor.
Now, 2 of the big scoring threats in this game are now on the bench. It's Schuler for the Rams and Gonzalez for Richmond. And now a whistle and a hand check against Giddings, I believe, out the dribble out front against TJ Gwynn.
And they're calling this game very closely on both ends of the floor as well. I think that's some of that rivalry officiating. They don't want it to get too black and blue, as you might say.
And Chris Mooney in his 4th year overall, 3rd at Richmond. Watching as his team on the defensive effort now. Here's Roselle, back to Maynor. Maynor around the perimeter, try to kick it inside, found Sanders open for the bank. That'll give him 3. 13-6, leads back to 7 for VCU where they started the game. Now some pressure, middle of the floor near Steele, but Giddings hangs on. Pushes it down low to Hovde. Kevin Hovde brings it back out to the top. Spiders are young. They've got an awful lot of youth out there on the floor. Shot clock down to 10. Anderson, left of the circle, elevates. Jumper won't go, and there's Larry Sanders to pull down the board. Rams want to try to push it up if they can. Spiders get back on the defensive end. Maynor out front, working, dishes it off to Roselle. Steps inside the arc, and Brandon can't get it to go down, and the rebound back to Hovde. Want to get that youngster's first shot in there.
Well, he's not hesitant at all, Robert. He's aggressive. He was aggressive Wednesday night in the contest with William & Mary as well.
State Player of the Year. Here's a turnaround, high arcing shot over Sanders, right into Hovde's hands as other players battled for it, and Hovde will put it down for 2.
Again, Richmond needing that basket to stem a little bit of a run for VCU.
13-8, 5-point advantage for the Rams. You see the time at the bottom of your screen with our new graphics. Maynor on the runner. That goes down somehow. He was looking for the foul. What a finish from Maynor. At the other end, Giddings, and he will get the foul as Richmond pushes the ball up the floor, and Giddings will go to the line with the 2 points and the foul. And that's an interesting run. Here's a look at Maynor's shot earlier. A little contact, but most of it on the body and maybe initiated by him.
Yeah, I think Eric's so good at laying his body on you and able to get a shot up on the glass, as you see right here. How many times did he go to the line against Maryland last week with just that same move? Different officiating crew in a game we thought was being called a little tighter. Lets that one go. That's a bit surprising.
And at the other end, Richmond pushes the ball, which is something they would like to do if the opportunity presents itself. Giddings, however, can't get the free throw. And here's Anderson with yet another rebound. He averages 5.3 a game. His numbers are up from last season. Here's Maynor around the perimeter. So it's a 5-point VCU advantage. Into the bench, TJ Gwynn. Just wasn't quite ready for that one, and now we'll go to a timeout. A stoppage in play indeed. So 15-10. We got the advantage. Kelly Lemon will be joining us here momentarily as she's standing by now to bring us up to date as we take a look at some of the breakaway action from Richmond a moment ago and the foul there to put the ball into the hands of Giddings and the bucket. Well, we've been talking about Jamal Shuler. He's got 2 fouls. He's on the bench right now. And let's get over to Kelly Lemon and talk a little bit more about Jamal Shuler. Kelly, welcome, and how are you tonight?
I am doing fine tonight. I love this game. I love the energy. But let's get on to Shuler. Shuler's game against Maryland is still being talked about. He had 30 points in that game, and everybody now, if you know the CAA and you know VCU, you know about Jamal Shuler. So here's a little soundbite from him on the Maryland game.
It was great, especially, bouncing back after a disappointing loss, by 9 to Hampton, and to come beat a ACC school by 9 points. Everybody contributing who played in the game, from our freshmen to our seniors, it was a great experience. Nobody was overwhelmed of the venue and the crowd. Everybody we just played VCU basketball. It was great.
As you said, Robert, unfortunately, Jamal is on the bench right now with 2 fouls. Hopefully that'll all change, and those 6 points will increase as well. Back to you guys.
Kelly, thanks. We'll check in with you a little bit later on. And, Mike, the thing about Jamal Shuler is he is starting to shoot the ball now. He's shooting 50% from the floor. He's shooting 49% from behind the arc. He is shooting the ball now the way he has shot it in the middle of the season or the latter part of the season. He started the year that way, so you hope that continues in this senior year that he has started to come around and sort of picking up where he left off at the end of last year. He was such a tremendous shooter in the tournament, in the CAA, and at the end of the year, and even in league play, he's picked that up now where he left off.
Well, Robert, he's playing so much more aggressive and confident, and it's hard to do that when you're getting fewer minutes. Coming off the bench as he's done in his first 3 years, it's tough to he's playing to stay on the floor. A player wants to be on the floor, and I think that makes you play a little bit differently. Now he's playing with no concern of playing time. He knows he's going to be on the floor, and you see, 1, a much more confident guy, and 2, you see a much more aggressive guy. And the Rams are reaping the benefits of his just great play here in the early going.
There's what Anthony Grant did last year as the head coach. He's now 33-10 in his second season here. Back to the action we go. Long 3-point jumper off the brick of the glass, and here is Gwynn with the outlet to Joey Rodriguez, who's now in the ball game for VCU. And Rodriguez takes it back out to the front. And will work against Ryan Butler. The freshman Rodriguez dishes it to the top of the key to Sanders. There's Roselle. Roselle tacks it back out front, off to Gwynn. Down low, Anderson. Double team, got poked in the eye. Kicks it back to Roselle again. Here's Rodriguez with a drive. The floater, it is good.
And you know, Robert, we talk about minutes and aggression and confidence. Joey Rodriguez is a great example of it. As his minutes increase, you see that confidence and that aggression increase as well.
Near steal by Anderson at the point of that zone. Into the front court goes Hovde, back to Gonzalez.
The press, Robert, starting to bother Richmond a little bit. 3 straight possessions, a little bit of an issue.
Butler kicks it around to Maliva. They get it down low to Gonzalez with a nice spin, but he ran right into Larry Sanders. Now Gwynn on the run. Gwynn on the leaner. Gwynn on the foul. He'll go to the line. And TJ Gwynn had 20 points against Richmond last season, so he will get a chance to get his first here as we take a look at the Sanders block.
Well, these guys are going to have to understand you can't put the ball up in Larry Sanders' face. You're going to get it back. The young man has incredible timing for a freshman, great poise. You know, he's not attacking shots as quickly as he did in the early going. He's staying down, staying on his feet a little bit longer. That's creating less foul situations for Larry and more blocks for the Rams. And Robert, when we block shots, so many good things happen when we go in transition.
And as usually is the case, and you know this, Mike, that as Gwynn will shoot 2, the first one's good for TJ. It's that guy off the ball that, here comes Will Famini. Good to see him in with a knee injury that he's been day-to-day with tendonitis, really, into the lineup, along with Lance Kirsch. But it's the guy off the ball that usually ends up with that block shot, and that's where Sanders came from a moment ago.
Robert, you talk about depth with this Ram team. We now have the 10th and 11th Rams that have played in this ballgame are on the floor now. We can continue to go to that bench, and we see no real drop in production. These guys they're starting to understand their role off the bench.
The lead is 9, the most it's been the whole game for VCU now, or either side really, but the Rams have had the lead from the get-go. Hovde into the front court, leaves it off there for Giroux, and back to Hovde as the Spiders work. They're starting the offense with 20 seconds on the clock.
And 35 feet from the basket.
Hovde on the wing, down inside, that is the freshman from Meadowbrook with a miss, but a follow inside by Justin Harper. And that makes it a 19-12 game as Harper's on the board. 6'9", 210-pound freshman from right here in Richmond. So he'll get the basket. 7-point Rams advantage. Gwynn directing traffic. About halfway through this first half right now. Here's Roselle in the corner, but it won't go down. Across the rim, Anderson with the rebound. Spiders on the run. One of them hits the floor. That's Harper. Now Anderson in low to Giroux, trying to lean in on Famini. Quick jump hook won't go down. Scrum for the loose ball. Famini has it. He'll be fouled on the scramble by Gaston Maliva, and that's the second on him. And it'll result in a 1-and-1 already. Each side, however, with 5 or 6 fouls. As here's Giroux with a quick hook shot, but couldn't get it to go down. Then the Spiders had that difficulty underneath.
Well, Maliva going to the bench, Robert, that takes another one of the few inside athletes that they have off the floor. They just get the young man back from quite a few injury problems,
yeah.
And he goes straight to the bench. He's the guy they need on the floor to compete defensively inside.
Famini's had tendonitis bothering his knee. Maliva missed all but 1 game last year with a left foot stress fracture, and that was a ugly-looking free throw from Famini. And Maliva's right foot has been bothering him this year, so he's had some problems, but he's back for the Spiders, and they have the ball back. They'll take it into the front court now. Giroux top of the key, leave it for Anderson. Goes by Rodriguez, a fake and a dish, and a ball knocked out of bounds. Last touched by the Rams, it would appear, but Anderson with a nice fake, got open for a moment, but couldn't finish it.
You know, he's really quick, Robert. I'm impressed with his first step out front.
And again, we mentioned that he was considered to be the best playmaker and passer among incoming A-10 freshmen this year. So that's a lot of talent in that league. Spiders work the offense, and that's probably something that Richmond needs, is some good talent and guard out front to make some plays for him. Giroux trying to muscle in, and he banks in the off-balance shot. And Dan Giroux now with 4.
That's great defense from Will Famini down inside on Giroux. Giroux's trying to bull him back down, and he can't move Will down in that paint. He's having to go around him, not through him.
The lead is down to 5. Entry pass, good catch, Famini, the finish.
Great look from TJ Gwynn. That's a tough pass there from the top of the key, Robert. He threads the needle perfectly.
So Famini with 2. Middle of the floor, Giroux into the front court, gets it into hands of Anderson. Over to Silla. Down low to Giroux. Famini squares up on him. Giroux bulls in, kicks it out to Harper for a long three. Nice strong rebound from TJ Gwynn. The Rams will go the other way. Front court, Roselle spotting one up. Grabbed by Pashalnikov to Gwynn to Rodriguez. Rodriguez left it in the corner to Famini, out of bounds. A little too much passing perhaps on that particular sequence. Guys leaving their feet and getting caught up in the air.
Well, Richmond gets a good ball reversal down in their end of the floor, Robert. Dan Giroux draws the double from Kirill Pashalnikov, and you don't make those in horse game, Robert. That's a tough shot. We'll take our chances with that. And then you see TJ Gwynn going the other way, threading the needle perfectly to Will Famini down inside.
That's a presence in there too to get Famini. If he can catch the ball in there, he can be tough with it. And he does just that. Here's the drive. The leaner by Anderson won't go down. The rebound belongs to VCU. Front court for the Rams, up by 7. Maynor took an extra step, says Dwayne Gladden, our official on this side, and Eric Maynor will turn the basketball over.
Don't know about that one. Robert, great job on the defensive end of the floor for the Rams. Richmond 6 of 20 at this point for the ball game. Struggling there, just below 30%.
Both coaches watching intently. Giddings at the high post. Works around Pashalnikov, leaves it for Gonzalez. They switch off, and that left Giddings open for a moment. He'll drive around Pashalnikov, but forgot to take the ball with him, and now Nixon gets it off for the Rams.
Well, he made a great move. Next time he's going to carry it with him. Carry the ball with him.
Rodriguez calls the motion offense working against Anderson. Quick on quick matchup out front. Here's Nixon. Bounce it over to Rodriguez. Takes it down the lane. Tried to dish it. It got deflected away. Nixon scrambles for it. Spiders win the battle. They come off on the run. Gonzalez back in with 2 fouls. Works on the offensive set. The long three, no good. The rebound knocked around. And Giddings beats the Rams to the ball. Anderson leaves it for Silla for 3, and he'll rattle it home.
From the most unlikely source in their offense, Omar Silla, not known as a shooter, Robert. He's a lockdown defender type.
It is a 4-point Rams advantage at 21-17. 6:55 to go in the first half. So Omar Silla with a 3-pointer. Now the offense works Pashalnikov, top of the key. Just 22% this year. Maynor, long distance 3 around and off. And the rebound underneath, there's a foul. We're going to go against maybe Pashalnikov, I believe, and the fans don't like that here.
Wow, I don't know about that one. One of them had Kirill by his throat, and the other one by his jersey there. I'm not sure how that happened.
Heading to timeout. 4-point advantage. 21-17. Time for our Delta Dental smile of the game. Here's Hunter Elliott once again. There you see the Popkin Tavern Anthony Grant radio show, 100.3 FM. It's Thursday nights. A chance to call in and talk to Coach Grant. Get a lot of opportunity to do that and find out all about VCU basketball. The Anthony Grant radio show, Popkin Tavern, Thursday nights, 6 to 7. And it's on 100.3 FM if you're not able to get down and visit. We want to let you know, too, this is some of our video tonight is coming from the folks at CN8. We thank them for the feed. We certainly want to do that. We have our own in-house video as well, but we're using a lot of their pictures during the course of this broadcast on Ram Replay, one of our next day Ram Replays here on WCBW, your community idea station, Richmond's public television. 21-17 now. Mike, the VCU saw Jamal Shuler go to the bench, and then they put a couple of different combinations in, and the Spiders are on a little bit of a run now.
Well, 7-2 run for UR. The last 5, Robert, have been, Omar Silla from behind that arc where he's only shooting 22%, and then Dan Giroux with a circus shot underneath. The Rams really defending well. 7 of 22, but we're, uncharacteristically, we're turning the ball over with 6, and we're not turning Richmond over. The Spiders only have 2.
Yeah, they are taking care of the ball in this one so far. Maybe some of it has to do with Anderson, the freshman. Back to Butler, back to Anderson. A lot of people said that Chris Mooney wanted a point guard to help him run the offense, the type of offense he wanted to run.
Well, he's got him one. He's a gifted young player. I love his quickness over this first step, Robert.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Silla over to Gonzalez, to Butler. Inside Giddings, back to Silla. They got to shoot. Shot clock at 2. Shot clock at 1. It's blocked. Anderson got a piece. Here comes Maynor off the Anderson pass. Maynor surveying the floor. 4-point advantage. Rams have been stuck on 21. Nixon drives, lost the ball, tried to get it back, and it's Giddings' ball, and it's another Rams turnover. That has been one of the issues for VCU during games this year. Butler in the corner. Butler on the drive. The runner won't go, and the rebound knocked ahead to Nixon, and Nixon can't push it. He lost it.
You know what? That's a freshman mistake there from Ed Nixon. He's got to understand he cannot be casual with the basketball.
Gonzalez, the shake and bake. Anderson cuts him off with help from Maynor. To Anderson in the corner. Butler launches the three around and off. Anderson the rebound. VCU hasn't been able to push the ball a whole lot tonight. Richmond's gotten back on defense. They've done a good job of that. Probably one of their keys.
They're not going to the offensive glass at all. They're sending 5 guys back in defensive transition.
Left-handed runner by Maynor. Sanders fights for the rebound. Out to Rodriguez with a long three. No good. And on the rebound, Silla tangled up with Michael Anderson, and the ball goes off VCU. Long distance three. Rodriguez was bumped after the three-point shot, but it seemed to come well enough after the release that no foul was called.
Well, Joey not happy with something. The official said something to him, and Joey not happy with the answer he got from the official about that foul.
So here come the Spiders again, facing the pressure, which hasn't bothered them too much tonight. Gonzalez into the front court. Double team now. Here's a pass middle of the floor, but no one there for the Rams to track it down. So it's saved by Justin Harper. Down low, Butler, or rather Giroux. Giroux with the ball. Now to Butler up high. He'll take the three, and it is good. Ryan Butler with 2 3-pointers has 6 for the game, and this is a 1-point VCU advantage at 21-20.
Well, Richmond has stemmed the tide, Robert, and right now they look like the team of more confidence offensively.
TJ Gwynn back to Rodriguez. Off to Eric Maynor. Maynor drives on the runner, leaves it there for Sanders, who got it to stay in the rim and go down. Larry with 5 points now. That breaks a long drought for VCU. They were stuck on 21 for a while. Cross court, Gonzalez. Gonzalez works on the offensive attack. Spiders work it. Drive the lane. Gonzalez on the runner. Spun it down.
Nice
Tough
play.
shot.
Nice play. Again, the one guy that can take the ball off the dribble and create around the hole. David Gonzalez showing no hesitation at all.
1-point game again. 23-22. VCU with the lead. Sanders driving. Put it on the floor. Way high away from the basket. The Spiders knock it loose. And they've got momentum now, and we'll go to a timeout.
Well, they've got guys trying to do things on the offensive end, Robert, that they shouldn't be trying to do. Larry shouldn't be putting it down on the floor from that far out.
Well, this is a pretty intense rivalry, as we know. We've seen some of the action inside, and right now the Spiders are holding VCU in check at 23-22. This rivalry has gotten its own identity at one point in time. Let's check in with Kelly Lemon to find out more about the rivalry and some of the other things that are attached to it now. Kelly?
You guys have that completely right. This is the Farm Bureau Black and Blue Classic, and it's happened for years now, and Richmond versus VCU is one of those rivalries that the city loves to see. Before the game today, there was a luncheon at Schuler's 2 where Coach Mooney and Coach Grant spoke. Greg Burton hosted that, and that has been going on the last 2 years as well. Next year, when we're at University of Richmond ticket office will handle all of the logistics for that. So if you're interested in going to the luncheon and being a part of this Black and Blue Classic, then make sure you contact them to get on for next year. Of course, we're in a sold-out Altel Pavilion at the Siegel Center for this annual event. So hopefully the Rams are coming out with the victory again tonight. Back to you guys.
Kelly, thanks. So far, a tough one here, 23-22. VCU up by 1. This is the 62nd meeting between these two schools. VCU leading the series 37-24. Sometimes, Mike, they met twice a year. Certainly in the CAA days for both of these teams, they would meet a couple times a year. And they would do that even when they were in different conferences in the 70s and 80s. They would sometimes meet twice a year.
Yeah, and you know, Robert, as I was looking back preparing for J.D. Barnett's appearance on Norwood's radio show, The March into Madness, I was looking back at some of those old records. You know, there were 2 years while J.D. was here that they played 3 times. Once in the old Times Dispatch Classic, and then once on each team's home floor.
That's
so,
right.
And that's interesting. I didn't know that they would have ever done that. But then J.D. and Coach Dick Tarrant both talked Wednesday on Norwood's radio show about the fact that they went and lobbied their ADs and said, "Hey, let's not play twice. Let's do this one time a year."
Yeah, they did. They used to do it twice. They would play one on each team's home floor, and boy, Richmond's really shut VCU down in the last few moments here. 12-4 run for the Spiders to put them back to within one, and they've got the ball. So let's see what the Rams come up with out of this timeout. Inbound pass in the backcourt. Hovde works with the ball, and a lot of pressure on him. Gets it to the middle of the floor to Dan Giroux, and then back to the playmaker, Anderson. They start the offense. Down low, Omar Silla. Michael Anderson on Silla. Silla spinning, fall away jumper is good, and Richmond's in front. Silla with 5. 24-23, Richmond has battled their way into the lead.
And you know that when that happens, Robert, they've got momentum, and that zone gets that much more active.
Famini fighting inside, can't get it to go down. And Anderson gets tangled up in low with Dan Giroux. And there's a whistle and a personal foul called against Michael Anderson. That'll be his first. Trying to get to that offensive glass, and Richmond setting it up on the offensive end earlier.
Well, you see Silla down in the low post, and another athlete that can battle our guys down in that low post on equal terms athletically. And he makes that's a nice post play. You know, that's hard to defend that, Robert. A guy backs you down, which you can't do. Can't let him catch it that deep, first of all, and you cannot give him the middle of the floor.
79% of Chris Mooney's scoring for his team this year has come from freshmen or sophomores. It's almost 80%, to be honest, if you look at the numbers completely. Dan Giroux, a sophomore out of Springfield, Pennsylvania, has 5. Meanwhile, Jamal Shuler can only sit and watch with 2 first-half fouls.
Well, and our offense, Robert, has come to almost a complete standstill. This looks like some of the early play on the offensive end of the floor, not like the Rams of late.
6-point lead, or rather 6 points for Giroux, and just a 3-point Richmond lead, though. Back in front, Eric Maynor. Off to Will Famini, then to TJ Gwynn. Get it back to Maynor. Joined with Anderson there at the high post. And an offensive foul on Anderson for banging into Dan Giroux.
I think that's the right call. You know, Michael lowered his shoulder. You know, if you don't lower that shoulder, you get away with that. But he put his shoulder right into the chest of Giroux. Yeah, no question. That's a charge.
Got a little bit of that arm chicken wing action in there, too.
Fans don't like it, but I think these guys are right on that one. Coach Grant agreed as well, Robert. I think he was shaking his head. I think they got that one right.
3-point Spider advantage. Now with 2 fouls, Anderson sits, and that puts Famini at the point of the zone. Cross court, here's Anderson trying to work against Will Famini. Keeping the play alive, gets it down low to Justin Harper. Harper 1 dribble, across to Giroux. He'll drive on Sanders. Got the leaner back after the block, left Anderson open for 3, and he'll knock it down. And Anderson now with a 3-point shot, and Richmond up by 6, 29-23.
Now at this point, Robert, 1:48 left to go in the half. Rams was trying to stop the bleeding and not have to go to the locker room down more than 6.
Here's Maynor around the screen. Back to Rodriguez. Rodriguez had to dish it after jumping up. Got it down low, the ball knocked away, and all of it right now in Richmond's momentum.
Well, it's a tough lineup on the floor for VCU, Robert. We're playing with a big lineup. You got TJ Gwynn in at the 3, Will Famini at the 4, Larry Sanders at the 5. I'm not sure we've seen that lineup on the floor this season.
Spiders have led at the half in 6 of the 9 games this season. And Maynor off the bench, or rather off the inbound, I should say, quickly knocks down the 3 to get the Rams back within 3.
And that stops a 9-0 run, Robert. That's a big shot for the Rams. That stops a 9-0 run for the Spiders.
Middle of the floor. Giroux to Anderson, down low to Silla, then back to Giroux. Giroux right at the circle, into the lane. Gaston Moliva, bank shot too strong, and Maynor with the run.
He's having a hard time down that block, Robert. I don't think he could score if you left him alone down there.
Long distance from Eric Maynor. He's got 10, and we're tied. That was pretty quick.
Well, and we answer with the guy that we know is capable of making big shots. Eric Maynor goes back to back.
Butler over to Anderson. Then back to Butler, and then Anderson. They work up high. Difference between shot and game is about 16 seconds. Whistle and a drive foul on Gwynn for the hand check. At 29-29, we're tied with 32 seconds to go in the half.
You know, with Jamal Shuler being on the bench, Robert, these three-point shots from Eric Maynor were well-timed. No scoring, you know, that duo's reduced to one, and Eric Maynor's answered the bell on 2 straight possessions when the Rams really in need of big shots.
And, you know, you look at the Maryland game, the first half it was Schuler, second half it was Maynor. They went back and forth trading responsibilities. This time Maynor's doing it with Jamal on the bench. The free throw from Anderson's good. It'll give him 4 points and breaks that tie to make it 30-29. But
well, leaders step up, Robert, and you know, I think Jamal would probably answer the bell for Eric. Eric's certainly answering the bell for Jamal right there. But again, Eric's answering the bell for the Rams in this instance. We need those two. We needed those desperately.
Second shot spins out. Sanders the rebound. VCU could take the last shot as Maynor walks it up. The shot clock is off. Down by 1, 30-29. Here's Maynor off to Rodriguez. Rodriguez waits out front. Silla comes out on him. Maynor comes up to get the ball. Anderson will take him at midcourt.
They're going to leave him by himself out front to play one-on-one.
Maynor might take Anderson down the lane. The runner up and good. Guess you got to phrase that correctly, right?
Yep.
Here comes Anderson the other way on the runner, though, at the half. No good. And VCU will leave the floor with a 31-30 halftime advantage for Anthony Grant's squad. And it's Eric Maynor basically taking over as Kelly Lemon is standing by with Coach Grant on the sidelines. Kelly?
Coach, up by 1. Thoughts on the first half of play?
Well, we got to take better care of the basketball. You know, we had some careless turnovers. It really hurt us, killed our momentum. And defensively, you know, they're a very dangerous team with the way they can shoot the basketball. We got to guard the three-point line.
Good luck in a second.
Thank you.
For stopping by there for the moment as he heads to the locker room at halftime. The numbers so far, Mike, well, you know, it's been interesting. Richmond's a three-point shooting team, and they've taken advantage of some of that, but the turnovers, 10 of them, as Coach Grant said, and that has been a problem for VCU in turning over the basketball as they have. In some games, it has led to some difficulty, but they do have a 1-point lead here at the half.
Well, and more importantly, Robert, maybe even than the 10 turnovers are the 8 points Richmond's generated. Yeah. They've had a hard time scoring in the half court, but they've been able to score 8 points off of those 10 turnovers.
And the second chance points, Richmond's got 10 off rebounds. VCU has no second chance points. So if you look at it, Eric Maynor coming into that situation there at the end of the first half and scoring pretty much 8 straight points to help this VCU squad get back in front, heading to the locker room, but only up by 1. So, you know, this has been a pretty tough tussle here in the first half, and definitely a good showing so far from both teams in this Farm Bureau Insurance Black and Blue Classic. Log on to VCUathletics.com. Find out all you want about the Rams sports action. Men's basketball, of course. But all your information on the Rams is available at VCUathletics.com. Newly redesigned website. A lot of interaction. A lot of things to do with audio and video and much, much more, including finding out features and stats and just about anything you want at your disposal. Just again, anytime on the web, log on to VCUathletics.com. Also, newly added feature to the outreach and the marketing program, if you will, is our Norwood Teague and Greg Burton March to the Madness ESPN 950 show. Comes your way on Wednesdays, starting at 11 a.m. with VCU Athletic Director Norwood Teague. And that's an opportunity for you to find out more, not just about VCU, but everything else. Upcoming Saturday, Longwood, 7:30. Don't forget about the Reach Out and Read program that will be taking place, helping out as far as folks learning a lot about how reading is beneficial to kids and how it helps in a lot of ways, combined with the medical community. The December 22nd game is at Bradley, and then we're off until January 2nd with the James Madison contest. December 15th, Longwood, Saturday, coming up. If you bring in a children's book to that game, you'll help the Reach Out and Read program, and you'll get a half-price general admission ticket as well. So, all right, let's find out more as we'll be back with second half action in a moment. 31-30, Rams up by a point. Back with the second half in a moment after we get this word in from VCU Health System.
It's important to me to work in a cancer center that is conducting research. Being an NCI-designated cancer center, we are able to integrate the different specialties caring for patients with cancer. It's very satisfying to know that some of the work is done here is then transmitted to other physicians. Our goal here is not only to fight cancer, but to cure it.
VCU Massey Cancer Center.
I think that somebody would want to come to VCU Medical Center because we're not only are we passionate doctors, but we're educators and we're researchers. To do research and education, you have to have an intimate knowledge of orthopedics, and it's that increased knowledge of orthopedics that I believe makes us better doctors. Ambulances, helicopters will go right past many hospitals to take the patients here when it reaches a certain complexity. When you deal with those types of problems, it's always extremely rewarding.
After taking care of CAA Fort William and Mary on Wednesday for their first conference win, the VCU Rams now turn their attention to another longtime rival as the Richmond Spiders enter the Alltel Pavilion at the Siegel Center, continuing the crosstown battle. After a disappointing loss at Hampton, the Rams' 1-2 punch of Eric Maynor and Jamal Shuler has led VCU to 2 straight wins. Schuler had a career-high 30 points, and Maynor poured in 25 for a combination of 55 points in a Rams win over ACC opponent Maryland, 85-76. The twosome then struck again Wednesday night in a 71-57 win over William and Mary, combining for 36 points. While the veteran combo has carried the Rams, a cast of newcomers led by Larry Sanders and Ed Nixon have lent support to the Rams' winning ways in the last 2 games as well. Now the crosstown rivalry with Richmond takes center stage, a contrast in styles with the Rams' up-tempo pace and Richmond's more deliberate attack. The Farm Bureau Insurance Black and Blue Classic is next on Ram Replay, the VCU Game of the Week.
Major funding for Ram Replay is made possible in part by the Virginia Lottery, more than $3 billion to K-12 public education since 1999. The Virginia Lottery, helping Virginia's public schools. Virginia Farm Bureau, because agriculture matters. Wachovia, free checking and rated #1 in customer satisfaction for the 5th straight year. Are you with Wachovia? Hunting Hawk Golf Course, Greater Richmond's premier public golf course, ranked 3rd best public course in the nation by Golf Digest 2002. Great golf, naturally. Virginia Paint Company Paint and Decorating Centers, home of Benjamin Moore Paints. We make it simple, you make it beautiful. Beauty that lasts. And JetBlue Airways, more for less. Committed to offering low fares to an always growing list of destinations. Make yourself at home, plush leather seats, and plenty of leg room.
A 1-point advantage for VCU as we head to the second half over crosstown rival Richmond. Great to have you with us. Our Ram Replay crew here. Mike Ellis alongside, courtside as well. And Mike, well, you know, the first half was a back and forth. VCU had a 7-point lead twice. They had a 9-point lead as well at one point. But then when they got that 9-point lead, Richmond turned the game around. They went on an 18-10 run to close this out. They're down by 1 at the half. And I guess the interesting thing about the Spiders is that they have, as we mentioned earlier, led at halftime in 6 of 9 games. They've been tied once. They trailed Memphis by 1 at the half on November 6th. And then they had the lead in the final 14 minutes of all 9 games. They have held a lead at one point in time or another. So they're kind of playing true to form, I guess, and the Rams have got to find a way to hang on to the basketball.
Well, the Rams not playing true to form with regards to hanging on to the ball, Robert. 10 turnovers, as you mentioned. You know, that's bogged us down. And I think we had some funky combinations on the floor brought on due to foul trouble. You know, with Jamal Shuler not being on the floor, that's really handicapped us from an offensive perspective. And I think we had guys out there, especially late, when you had TJ Gwynn, Will Famini, and Larry Sanders up across that front line. That's a tough lineup to find points out of.
The Rams are Richmond's 4 of 8 from behind the arc. The Rams are 4 of 10 from behind the arc, but it's that points off turnovers, second chance points that you don't see on your screen there, but you do see the 10-2 turnover margin. So things are a little bit different. VCU does have 4 blocked shots. Let's see if they can lock down defensively here in the second half as we get back to work. Eric Maynor will bring it up. The Rams have the ball to open things up here in the second half. Maynor on the right sideline. Gives it to Anderson, to Schuler. Had 2 threes in the first half and then got 2 quick fouls, had to sit down.
Well, we need him to give us minutes. I mean, he just needs to be on the floor in the second half, Robert.
Spiders matching up against Ed Nixon here, and then out front to Maynor. Shot clock's down to 8. Maynor working. A hand check by Anderson, then another one. He got away with it the first time. He will not get away with the second one. And that'll be a foul on Kevin Anderson. And a fresh 35 for the Rams to work with.
You know, Anderson challenged Maynor right there. Now, he beat Eric to the spot on that first look that Eric took on the drive. And that second one, he couldn't quite beat him that second. But he's a tough freshman. I like him. Quick first step.
Here's Michael Anderson for VCU off to Schuler. Schuler leaves it for Maynor. Gonzalez now chases Maynor down out front. Maynor over to Schuler. Popped the 3. Wouldn't go. Pashalnikov. That came off the glass. Woo. And was blocked after it came off the glass, it appeared. Here's Maliva. And into the front court go the Spiders. Mike, I thought that came off the glass and then was blocked.
I did too.
Almost back court there. Baseline Maliva spins in the lane, all kind of trouble, and that'll be a walk.
Well, they got 1 out of 3 of them right, Robert. It's about time there. Let's take a look.
Let's see if we get it here. And here's the play. I believe we're going to see it right here.
Yeah, the missed shot from Jamal Shuler in the corner, and Kirill Pashalnikov comes up with it, goes right back up. Oh, yeah, it was off the glass. No question.
Schuler leaves it for Anderson, going flying in. Can't get the shot to go down here at the other end, meanwhile. Again, we thank the folks at CN8 for their video, lending us their feed that we can use for Ram Replay here. So we remain in a 1-point game, 31-30, just starting the second half. Back court to Schuler on the inbound, and the Rams will go to work. Here's Maynor. Just squaring off against Anderson right up front. The step back on Maynor's part, good. That's just tough right there.
Again, Eric Maynor answers the challenge. Anderson's throwing down the gauntlet. Eric answers 2 times in a row.
It wasn't bad defense either by Anderson. Here's the double team. A near strip. All kind of trouble for Gonzalez, but he gets out of it. Now Butler drives the lane. Had it taken away.
He's smart here.
To Maynor. Stop and pop the jump shot. He's got another one, and now he's got 16 points. And he is starting to take over this game at the end of the first half, and now the beginning of the second half.
That's like 10 in a row, 12 in a row for Eric Maynor, I believe, Robert.
Into the front court. Spiders work. Butler on the far side. Nixon harassing Butler. Back to Maliva. A lot of cuts here from the Richmond offense right now. Leave it for Anderson down in the baseline. Dishes to Maliva. Now down the lane, shot blocked. Giroux got it back. Clock still ticking. It's down to 3. It's down to 2. And Pashalnikov to steal. Nixon on the run and leans in. The follow is good from guess who? It's Eric Maynor again. He's got 18 points And it's 37-30 VCU, and Chris Mooney out on the floor looking for a foul, it would appear, or something, after timeout was taken by the Spiders. This will be a full timeout. It will extend to that.
Chris Mooney's asking the official, why was that not a jump ball? Robert, I think the guys made the right call there. There was never a second guy with his hands on it long enough to give that call.
Well, you're right. I think that there was never possession for the most part. And if anything else, there was some rolling over maybe down there by Dan Giroux. So no possession at all is better than a turnover, even though it ended up being that way for VCU.
Mooney wants to question why there's no call. He might want to question why he didn't call timeout while Giroux had the ball. You know, Anthony's been real successful with that. Robert, we talk about answering the bell. Eric Maynor finishes the first half with 8 in a row. He starts the second half with 6. That's 14 points in a row for VCU, scored by Eric Maynor.
Wow. Eric Maynor.
Wow, that's great.
Just a tremendous performance. And he has put this team on his shoulders. And to this point, a 7-point advantage for the Rams. They have turned it up a notch defensively. And Mike, we've seen this before from VCU squads. You know, last year's team, this year's squad done it a little bit as well. They come out in that second half and they turn that defensive pressure up a notch. And that has been a pretty key to the start of this second half. But we've seen Richmond survive a couple of Ram runs here in the first half. So the Spiders have been that type of team all year long, hanging close for most of the ball game. 7 of their 9 losses have been by 6 points or less.
Well, they've got ability, Robert, and I think they're fighting a little bit of a confidence issue themselves. You know, the talent level's increased there, the confidence level in their players has increased. They expect to be competitive in these games, but I'm not sure, to be honest yet, Robert, they expect to win these games. They're kind of at that stage.
Well, that happens with a young team.
No question.
You see Maynor here just taking this game over. And he's certainly experienced as a junior. There's the Maynor on the follow on the Ed Nixon miss. But you have to learn how to be in that situation. And that's something that VCU has learned, but they still have some youth as well, still trying to learn some of that. So it's interesting to watch how that develops. Here comes Gonzalez now. The Spiders trying to work their way back. Over to Anderson. And VCU picking it up a notch, really putting some pressure on that basketball up high. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Butler threw it right into the radio crew over there. Almost got Terry Zasiski, I think.
Threw it to one of our fans, Mark Dalton, who's somehow wrangled a seat on press row
I think
tonight.
he's a friend of VCU radio tonight. Still 37-30, VCU with the ball now. And now the turnover by Richmond, maybe Rams trying to force a couple more of those.
Well, they've now doubled their production from the first half already in the first 3 minutes of the second half.
Here's Eric Maynor out front. Maynor working against Anderson. And Anderson cut him off, reached across and got the foul. That did not please Chris Mooney. There was contact there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was contact, clearly contact. I'm not sure what he wants there.
Maynor works off the dribble over to Ed Nixon. Butler's got hands on Nixon. Cross to Maynor, corner to Schuler. Got a man in the air, drives, alters the shot, and it would not go down, and a good rebound from Dan Giroux inside. Outlet, Anderson quickly gets it ahead. Gaston Moliva over around the corner to Anderson. In low, Gonzalez had it knocked away. It goes to Butler. Steps into the baseline jumper, and he wouldn't go down. Ed Nixon the rebound. The Rams have not pushed the ball as much as they have in past games. Here's Maynor to the middle of the floor. Anderson in the corner. Jamal Shuler, anticipation from the fans. As Schuler's runner is good.
Well, now Eric Maynor finds that comfort zone when Jamal Shuler's on the floor. You know, he's got that backcourt partner who can put up some points in a hurry as well.
In the backcourt, Maynor and Schuler. Anderson dribbles between the two of them, and I think Maynor's whistled for his second foul. And we will get a timeout right here. 9-point VCU advantage. They led by 1 at the half. And with the help of Eric Maynor, they have pushed that lead up to a 9-point advantage at 39-30. Well, we've had a very busy day here at the Alltel Pavilion at the Siegel Center for many of us. And Kelly Lemon is standing by to talk about why it's been such a busy day today. Kelly?
You got that right, guys. I think that we've had the easier part of the day because the busyness started last night. Graduations, December graduates down on the MCV campus, they graduated in the Siegel Center yesterday. So Tim Lampy, Nate Dowdery, Tony Hobbs, and the whole VCU facility crew has had to turn this place around. They had graduation this morning with over 7,500 people and 1,200 graduates today. And then we had the women's basketball game that the women won. Of course, they're 7-0. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then another packed house with men's basketball playing. So much credit and thank you to the VCU facility staff of Tim Lampy, Nate Dowdery, and Tony Hobbs for getting this place turned around and transitioned. Alltel Pavilion is just more than a basketball stadium. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Kelly, and watch out for that couch that was going by behind you in the background there. They had the couch potato people on the floor. Maybe that Tim and Nate and Tony can all take a seat in the couch after that long day of turning this build going.
Well, they've had to work today for sure. You know, that started the graduation setup yesterday, and the arena was finished, and then all of a sudden, Robert, they had this thing full for graduation, packed, and all of a sudden, 3 hours later, they can play a basketball game on the same floor. That's a great job by the staff.
One of those graduates today was Jesse Pellarosa, and if we get an opportunity later on, we may try to track him down during our replay show, but he graduated today. He was among those that received the honor. So hopefully if he's here, we'll track him down. If not, we'll talk a little bit about it a little bit later another time. But that was one of the ones he did receive, among the many others, certainly. But good thing for Jesse. He's worked hard and fought hard and got his way into the situation to be in that, be able to do that, and that worked out for him very well. There's VCU last year winning the CAA tournament and then going and knocking off Duke in the NCAA tournament. Now they've got a 9-point lead on the Richmond Spiders here in the Farm Bureau Insurance Black and Blue Classic. This game has taken on an identity of its own. Even it's got its own sponsor. It is now, taken to the next level, if you will, I guess. It's always been intense for the two schools involved. Rams go zone as Richmond works against it. A little bit different look. See it every now and then from VCU. Maybe this time, Mike, what's the reasoning behind it?
Well, Ron, I think they want to give him a different look out of a timeout. We've got a little momentum, and he didn't want to give a chance for Richmond to come out and run a play out of a timeout and get a score. He changes up, goes zone.
Pashalnikov with a block shot. And Dan Giroux the foul. That's the first on Giroux, and here's Pashalnikov on the stop.
Great job by Kirill, rotating right into the defender, being tough enough, strong enough, takes it away from Giroux, draws the foul.
Jamal Shuler on the right wing. Shuler with two men down low on the blocks, and then Butler bangs into him trying to go for the steal, and that'll be a foul on Ryan Butler. It's been a tight game tonight as far as the officiating, and they've done a good job, I think, most of the times in this game, it seems like.
They're determined to not let this game get away from them, and no signs of that early because they're calling a lot of that small stuff and doing a good job, as you say.
Here's Eric Maynor around the screen. Back to Roselle, who's in the lineup. Brandon kicks it back to Maynor. There was thought that Roselle would redshirt, but Coach Grant felt he needed him now. Here is Maynor on the runner, and that one won't go down. Silla chases down the loose ball out near midcourt. Off to Gonzalez. The lead is 9. VCU had that earlier in the first half, and when they did, Richmond went on a big run. However, here's a steal. Maynor's got a man behind him. Into the front court he comes, right down the lane. Won't go, and a foul as he charges in, but it'll be a blocking foul charged against the Spiders.
Well, Eric's looking to attack, and he has clearly got that attack mentality going on. He's had it since the last minute of the first half, and good things usually happen for the Rams when they do. Robert, you mentioned Roselle. What a journey. You think he's going to be redshirted, and he's the first guard off the bench here in the second half of this basketball game. I think Coach Grant likes what he sees from the young man from Highland Springs.
Maynor's free throw won't go. And I think Roselle's only scratched the surface. We haven't seen from the State Player of the Year last year, Highland Springs State title. We haven't seen, as we watch Maynor shoot these free throws, from Roselle, we haven't even scratched the surface of his ability to shoot the ball. And that'll be among the many things that he does, but he plays defense well. He makes things happen and earning that playing time. Maynor now with 19 points. And a 10-point VCU lead at 40-30. Anderson in the middle of the floor. We have 4:14 left as the clock runs. You can see in the screen. Swinging around on the right side to Hovde, now out front. Giroux to Anderson. Justin Harper taking a three. Harper's shot won't go, and I'm not sure that that may have been what Mooney wanted there or not.
No, it wasn't. It didn't look good at all.
Harper played at Meadowbrook. Here's Shuler. Reverse shot, just threw it up there with contact. Got it back. Bounced it to Anderson, and now he's fouled. And Shuler from the seat of his pants ending up with a loose ball and just finding a way to keep it alive, and Anderson will go to the line.
You know, I'm not sure, just was about to say, I'm not sure this is what Coach Grant would want from Jamal on this end. It ends up in the Rams' favor, but Jamal a little bit out of control there, trying to make too much happen. You know what he's thinking. He's got his foot on the throat, and he wants to finish these guys. And
well, he's got a history of making those acrobatic shots.
No question. Yes, he does.
But that one may have been a little bit too far-fetched.
I prefer that he's shooting with his feet set behind that arc right now, the way he's feeling it.
Anderson has not scored, but he does have 5 rebounds. And he'll go to the line. Free throws up and good. Michael Anderson, you know, 9 points is an average. Most he's averaged since he's come here. His Giddings checks in for Richmond. But Anderson had 18 points against Houston and 16 against Arkansas. So that scratches the surface of what he can do, playing against those two squads. Second shot is no good. There was a lane violation on Richmond as Giddings, or Harper rather, fell into the lane with a hand. Harper's dad was a standout for Niagara in the late 70s, Ollie Harper.
Well, and, you know, Richmond fans may know him, or city folks may know him from, he was the general manager of the Richmond Coliseum, and a fine man, Ollie Harper.
Anderson again, free throw up, and good. I thought that name was familiar when I saw it earlier today. So a basket for Michael Anderson off the second free throw. He's got 2 points. Pressure. Gonzalez brings it up. He's trapped on the sideline. Get it over to Harper. Harper's pass is loose, picked up by Anderson. Anderson around Pashalnikov, altered the shot. It's tipped out of there, and Eric Maynor will take off with it the other way. Maynor to the front court. Maynor right to the lane. They let him go, and his shot wouldn't go down. And the rebound pulled out of there by Giddings. Well, I thought he would hit that one, but 12-point lead now at 42-30. VCU ahead. And they've kept Richmond scoreless here in the start of the second half. That shot won't go on the drive by Gonzalez, but he will go to the line as Roselle picks up the foul.
You know, you see a little bit of hint of Gonzalez's athletic ability again there. Robert, he is so strong and so quick. You see him take that dribble crossover. Nice crossover to lose Eric Maynor out front. Brandon a little bit late with the rotation.
Trying to help and didn't get over in time for the freshman from Highland Springs, playing for George Lancaster right here in Richmond.
I feel like when we say George Lancaster, we should always say the legendary George Lancaster.
Yeah, I think you're right.
What a fine coach.
A lot of talents come through that program. Gonzalez's free throw is good. He's got a total of 4. That's Richmond's first point this half. So the Spiders go a little over 7 minutes without a basket.
Well, when you go through a drought like that, Robert, 7 minutes, you got to put the ball in your most gifted scorer's hands, and that's what Richmond did. And I think they've tried to get it to him on a couple other possessions, but the Rams have done an unbelievable job on him. Not only is that Richmond's first points of the half, that's only Gonzalez's 4th point of the ball game. They've done a great job on him, slanting that defense his way.
And this is a guy who had 25 against Memphis, so he's not a guy that you can take lightly. Free throw is around and off. Famini had it. Somebody maybe, were they in the lane too soon, or was there
no, somebody was lined up incorrectly. Mooney was pointing at it before. I don't know who it was, but somebody wasn't in the right spot.
I think it's Maynor. I think Dwayne Gladden signaled number 3. So an incorrect lineup. Another chance here. Gonzalez will score. He's got 5. And Richmond will put a little pressure on. Middle of the floor, Gwynn's got to watch those feet. He's right on the line. Does stay in the front court, however, but lost the basketball. Now the front court the other way. Gonzalez leaves it for Omar Silla. He's already hit 1 from out there. Not this time, however. And the rebound goes into the Spider bench. They're claiming it was tipped.
What?
And the officials will agree that it was tipped out of bounds, last touch by a Ram.
Missed that one. I missed that one. Did you see that?
I was screened out.
I didn't see it.
We'll go with it.
What we don't want to do is let Richmond go on another one of those mini runs, or one of those runs they had in the first half. You know, got that tough lineup to score points out of.
Here's Maliva around to Anderson. Down low, Silla. Blocked by Gwynn, out of bounds, off Silla. Good defensive play by T.J. Gwynn. Had a tremendous offensive game against these Spiders earlier, and there he is on the defensive end, getting a good block shot, and then Silla couldn't control the rebound.
Well, a game like this is one that TJ can do some damage. You know, from a matchup perspective, he's not much of a liability when he's in there at the 4, 3, or the 3 in this kind of game, and you see him taking the challenge and sending it back.
Here's Rodriguez. Good pressure on the ball. Rodriguez better get rid of it. Gwynn got caught in the air and commits the mistake on the offensive end.
He's killing us right now.
Silla cross court, Anderson. Anderson in the lane, tough shot, but it goes, and he now has 6. This is where the Spiders will start coming back at times.
Well, this lineup, you know, we said it, Robert, this lineup is a tough lineup to find points out of, and it's not a great ball handling lineup either. You know, we like to have 3 handlers on the floor. Right now we have 2.
Anthony Grant didn't like what he saw there as Rodriguez was dribbling through traffic, and as he went through traffic, Grant called timeout before the ball popped loose. This is a 30-second timeout.
Well, when we break that huddle, I doubt T.J. Gwynn will be joining us on the floor. I think Coach Grant not real happy with his performance. And, I mean, you know, offensively, he's really hurting us right now with his inability to do anything for us with the basketball.
So it's Schuler, Maynor, Rodriguez, Famini, and Sanders for Anthony Grant's team. Schuler waits to inbound the basketball right here on the sideline. The lead is 8. 7 block shots for the Rams. 3 steals. Now rebounded the Spiders 31-16. It seems a little bit excessive, but I think it's closer to 31-18 now. Here's a shot of a cross-court pass, rather, to Schuler. To Maynor up high. Way too strong. Ball tipped around into the hands of Anderson. Spiders into the front court with Gonzalez. Gonzalez in the corner, finds Giroux, leaves it there for Anderson into the paint. Corner to Silla, back across to Butler. Butler to the lane, skips into the lane and then can't get it to go. Fouled his own miss, and out of there with it comes Schuler on the run. He's got people all around him. His pass, however, grabbed on the sidelines by Rodriguez, and the Rams keep possession of it with a 42-34 lead and 11 minutes to go. And now Maynor whistles for another timeout as he stops play there. And Coach Grant not too happy at the moment.
Well, the breakdown
this will extend to a full timeout. But there was some breakdown there, as you said. As we have this full timeout now, let's. We talked about graduation earlier, and we talked about Jesse Pellarosa getting that honor today. And let's go over and check in with Kelly Lemon now, who's got more on all the events that took place and more on Jesse. Yep.
That's right, guys. One of the 1,200 graduates that were in the building tonight was our own Jesse Pellarosa. He did graduate this December, which sometimes it takes them a little bit longer, to get through depending on their classes. And no VCU student usually, gets through in the 4 years. But Jesse did it in 4.5. And Jesse's major was real estate and urban land development. So Jesse's leaving for Puerto Rico in January. He's going to play some basketball. But he told me when he gets back, he's definitely going to get in that up-and-coming real estate scene right here in Richmond. Back to you guys.
Stood up on cue. I don't know if we let him know we were talking about him or not, but he stood up over there on cue, over there behind the bench. So, and I'll tell you something else that I saw the other day. We were in here, Mike, before the William & Mary game. This was very interesting to me. Shows you, I guess, a little bit about how much Jesse cares about things. He was in here, it was about 2 o'clock, 2:30 before shoot-around. He was in here with, and actually it may have been, I can't remember exactly what day it was, but we were in here doing some tests on some equipment. And Jesse was in here by himself with Mick Brown. And he was working with Mick Brown, teaching Mick Brown what he knows. He's telling him, look, you got to go after people when they come through the lane. You got to bump them. He was just teaching him all kinds of things as Rodriguez dials for 3 and hits. But he was really talking to Mick Brown about ways he could improve his game, and I thought that was pretty neat stuff.
Well, Robert, when you have a family, things like that happen. And Jesse very simply was giving back a little bit of what he got from Dominic Jones when Dominic was a senior and Jesse was a freshman. You know, you just continue to give back when you have great kids and you understand being a part of a family and what that's all about.
Pass tipped out of bounds, and now the defensive pressure's picked up. We're going to go to a timeout here, but things are getting a little bit tougher for Richmond now on the offensive end. They have scored a total of 4 second-half points, and you can see now that the Spiders maybe are a little bit more harried than they were in the first half. The Rams have picked up that defensive pressure a little bit. Richmond played very well in the first half, and they've still got a long way to go in this game, but it seems as though that defense, at least from these eyes and our appearance, is starting to bother Richmond a little bit now.
Well, it is, and they're having to play with a little bit more urgency, a little bit out of their comfort zone, Robert, and down 11 with 10 to go. You know, plenty of time left. We're not into those stages of the basketball game yet where they have to play much, much faster than they want to, but you feel like they are playing with a little bit more urgency. And that's not to their comfort, that's not to their liking. They're not comfortable in that setting on the offensive end.
45-34, Rams lead, 10:24 to go here in the ball game. Back with more Ram replay after this from the Virginia Lottery.
What element is the main component of most stars? If you were a student at a Virginia public school, you'd know the answer is C, hydrogen. This has been a Virginia Lottery educational moment.
Virginia Lottery. Quiz.
Which of the following is not a perfect square? If you were a student at a Virginia public school, you'd know the answer is D, 99. This has been a Virginia Lottery educational moment.
The Virginia Lottery.
Back here at the Alltel Pavilion at the Siegel Center, the Rams have opened up a 45-34 lead here in the second half. Mike, it's an 11-point advantage, and again, they've done it on the defensive end.
Yes, they have, Robert. They picked it up. You know, Richmond had 2 turnovers in the half. Rams had 10. You would have thought those numbers would have been reversed. But here we are, 10 minutes to play, 9.5 minutes into the second half. Richmond has 4 turnovers in this half alone, you know, doubling their output from the second half. Rams have only turned it over twice, so the numbers starting to go into a more familiar territory.
What's been interesting is Richmond's inability, for lack of a better word, to put the ball in the basket. I mean, they did it fairly easily in the first half, but again, VCU's taking care of the ball in the second half, and they haven't given up those second chance points, and they haven't given up those points off turnovers either. 45-34. Spiders will inbound the ball. They'll take it low to Harper, back out to Gonzalez. They only have 15 on the shot clock. Now it's down to 9 at 45-34, whistle on a drive by Gonzalez. I think Eric Maynor might have cut him off. That's his 3rd foul. Well, he's got 19 points. Don't want to lose him now. He actually has 20, I beg your pardon.
Well, he has to be somewhat comfortable here for about 3 or 4 minutes to not pick up that 4th. That'd be big for the Rams if Eric goes to the bench.
Here's Gonzalez, double teamed, leave it for Giroux, fakes and then steps into a shorter shot, but it's too short. But the rebound's tipped to Giroux and then tapped back out to Gonzalez. VCU up 45-34, 9:52 to play. Gonzalez to the line, off to Butler. Butler kicks it in the corner. And it's lost by Anderson. He went up, came back down, traveled. Schuler with some good ball pressure.
Well, and Joey Rodriguez running at him as well. You know, there was nowhere for the kid to go with that. Puts it down on the floor as he leaves his feet. Freshman mistake.
Maliva's back into the lineup for Richmond. Here's Rodriguez right to the middle of the floor. And Rodriguez takes it in the front court. He's harassed on that sideline by Gonzalez. And the water bug looking for somewhere to go, leaves it for Maynor. He's like a little water bug out there.
He is. I tell you, he is bothersome on the defensive end, and he's starting to gain so much confidence on the offensive end of the floor.
Schuler takes it with a quick step, and Anderson on the bump will pick up the foul. Schuler banks the shot in, but it's not a continuation play. Anderson gets his 3rd foul, and all of them have come in this half as Chris Mooney's troops have tried to put good pressure on the ball, but they've picked up a few fouls in this particular segment.
Well, the Rams are going to be in the bonus, Robert, with 9:20 left to play, and that bodes well. We started to gain a comfort level with our free throw shooting as well.
That's 9 points for Jamal Shuler. Second opportunity. Now he's up to 10, and once again, the combination of Maynor and Schuler in double figures Kashalnikov's back in. He's had a nice game in this one. A lot on the defensive end, rebounds, block shots. Gonzalez will bring it up, at least for the moment. Rodriguez is going to put some pressure on him. Gonzalez surveys the floor. Ooh, almost a pass that Maynor could have had. Gonzalez, a baseline drive. It's blocked by Anderson, pulled out of the air by Anderson. And Gonzalez tries to get it back. Off to Rodriguez. Now it's a 47-34 VCU advantage. And the clock continues to run. Anderson out front. Back to Maynor. 1-4 offensive set. Here goes Maynor on Gonzalez. Just going to lean in there, and it won't go. Tipped it again, won't go. Scrapped with a loose ball underneath. Richmond has it. There'll be a foul called against VCU. Wow. Getting used to that runner going down for Maynor, and when it doesn't, you kind of don't know what to do after it doesn't go down.
I'm surprised now. Well, that thing is almost, that's like Jamal from the corner. You know, Eric on the run, from the run with the runner in the lane, Jamal from the corner, feet set. You're going to put those in the book.
Spiders off the inbound. They'll get it to Anderson. He's going to race ahead into the front court. But dribbled it off his foot and out of bounds. However, it may have touched Michael Anderson last. Most folks don't think that's the way it went, but that's how the officials have seen it tonight. At least for that particular call. Inside pass, and Giroux scores. That's his first basket this half. He's got 8. 47-36. Anderson floors Gonzalez on the screen. Richmond comes out with the ball, and Gonzalez has recovered in time for a missed dunk. And now Moliva slams it down, and he'll get fouled. First basket for Moliva. Gonzalez was flattened earlier off the screen.
Yep. Joey again getting in a little bit too tight a situation there off the dribble. Feeds ahead, and Gonzalez misses the dunk, but Moliva comes up with it, and there you see a little bit of athleticism we talk about. Spider fans like to see that, Robert. It's been a long time coming for that young man who's battled through quite a bit of injury adversity.
Yeah, the stress fracture in the left foot last year. He's had, as we said earlier, some right foot problems this year. 47-38 now with the made basket from Moliva. There's Gonzalez, who takes a seat on the bench for a moment, and he didn't see Anderson at all. Free throw's too strong, and Sanders comes out with it. Eric Maynor will take it to the front court. VCU has the lead. Richmond's whittled it down to 9. Around the screen, Maynor. Off to Jamal Shuler. A runner in the lane, and it's spun out. Sanders and Moliva fighting for the loose ball. It's last touch, apparently.
Woo!
Apparently.
Oh, my gosh.
By VCU.
Woo!
Anthony Grant's on the floor.
There's no way in the world.
Take another look at it here as we take a look at it quickly.
Well, they shove Michael Anderson out of bounds. Oh, my God.
Now, if anything, it probably could have been a jump ball because it looked like both players had possession of it. Well, Kelly Lemon is standing by with Beth Cunningham. The women's program's off to its best start ever at 7-0, so we need to talk about that. Let's get over to Kelly Lemon and talk about all that good stuff, Kelly.
Yeah, Robert, definitely something to talk about. 7-0, women's basketball head coach Beth Cunningham. Beth, just talk about the transition that you've gone through with some players, some coaches. What's making this season a little different?
Well, I think there's a lot of hard work that's gone into getting us this point, whether it be, recruiting the last couple years. And I just feel like, this is really the first year where we've got some talent in depth. And I think that that's been a big benefit this year. And, our kids worked extremely hard in the offseason. But this senior class is our first full recruiting class. It's the first class that I brought in, since taking the program over. And I just think that, we've got some maturity, we've got some experience, we've got some leadership. And our chemistry has been great. And I think, it's just a lot of hard work the last couple years, and it's exciting to see it paying off for the kids.
Talk about that leadership, that senior leadership real quick. Crystal Vaughn, leading scorer. She's playing phenomenal for you guys.
She's had an outstanding year for us and really has been a leader for us. you know, on the offensive end of the floor, but defensively and just, you know, brings so much to the table for us. And, you know, we have 4 seniors and, you know, just hope they can continue to contribute and keep things rolling for us.
Well, good luck to you. You get some time off. They don't play again until December 16th, which is a away game at George Mason. So make sure you tell the rest of the team good luck and congratulate.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly and Beth Cunningham. And you can log on to VCUathletics.com. Find out all the information about the women's team and the start they're off to. You can also follow them on our website with the audio connection. And our man Dave Wainwright doing the play-by-play for some of the women's games. And it's been a pretty good start for them, as we said. The best start ever. It's a little understatement to say pretty good. Folks inside the Siegel Center not happy right now with that last possession call, and they're kind of letting everybody know. Wanted to go baseball pass that Ryan Butler has to settle to go short to Kevin Hubdy. Spiders will take it up. 47-38. Nixon pressuring the ball, but Anderson gets away. Nixon knocks it away from behind, and VCU will hold on to it. And just when the Rams had opened up enough of a cushion, here comes Richmond back into the ball game again. They've been a pesky ball club all year long. They came in at 4-5.
Well, we put that tough lineup back on the floor. It has a hard time scoring. It went through another little drought.
Nice pass, Schuler to Maynor. Maynor can't get the hanger to go, but he does get fouled and will go to the line as Schuler and Maynor are in sync yet again on communication and baseline cuts and getting the ball to one another.
Robert, I can't say enough about the job the Rams have done on the defensive end of the floor tonight. Richmond's 12 of 39, 30%. But the number that we like to see, Rams out-rebounding Richmond tonight, 31-18.
Spiders have had problems on the boards. In fact, Richmond's 3 of 14 in the second half. 21%. Maynor's free throw is good. That'll take him to 21 points. The Spiders have been a first half team this year. 33.2 points average in the first half. The second half, 28 points. Second shot's good. Maynor's got 22. And it's 49-38 VCU. Pressure in the backcourt on Gonzalez. He avoids that pressure to the middle of the floor, now left side, off to Butler. Now Richmond sets the offense up late. Butler gives it to Giroux, but Mike, you know, it can be a deliberate squad down inside, double teamed. Anderson, a travel called as Anderson came across. What I was going to ask you is, they set the offense up late, but does that bother them as much as it might another team because they are a little bit more used to taking time to take a shot?
Doesn't bother them at all. And I think there you saw them, you know, they can get right into an isolation. What they're trying to do right there is isolate Maliva on Ed Nixon. You know, they got about a 5-inch height advantage, about a 50-pound weight advantage. But great job of Michael Anderson rotating over to force that travel.
Here's Maynor at the middle of the floor. And Kevin Anderson trying to match up with him. Schuler to Gonzalez. Gonzalez around the screen. Leave it for Maynor underneath Sanders, and he couldn't hang on. Well, they had it.
Great look. Great look. That, you know, the big young kid from Florida, Larry Sanders, got to start to understand when he's going to get those kinds of passes. He's got to keep his hands up. He's liable to be fed at any time down in there with Eric Maynor with the basketball.
When you're playing with Eric Maynor, you've got to be ready for those passes. At the front court, Silla down low to Giroux, faking a drive, and Sanders clapped him on the head as he went by. Anderson comes up a little gimpy. Larry Sanders with a foul. Inbounds. Anderson around the screen. Out front to Gonzalez. Anderson launches a three. It won't go. And Sanders holds on to the rebound with Silla coming over the top. Going the other way, VCU. Eric Maynor leaves it for Jamal Shuler. Schuler working all the way to the baseline. The runner's good.
Boy, he's added that element to his game. He's so difficult to guard because you're going to run at him to take the three away. Now he can put it on the floor and go by you and finish.
And Shu makes it a 13-point advantage at 51-38. Right to Sanders, to Maynor, leave it for Schuler. Can't finish that one, however. We got a little bit too much on that. Silla ahead, Nixon the foul. as Nixon cuts him off. But VCU had the numbers, but that time the combination didn't work out so well. Maynor, I thought he was going to go to Sanders the other way. He went to Schuler instead. And
I did too. I thought he was going to look him off and put it up there for Big Larry to finish.
Here's Schuler a moment ago.
Again, you see what we're talking about with Jamal now, after a summer of hard work, more adept at putting that ball down the floor and finishing at the hoop. You know, there's that old adage, great teams are made during the season, Robert. Great players are made during the offseason. And nobody on this team embodies that more than Jamal Shuler. Boy, he put in the time, he put in the work, and you see the fruits of his labor now.
Lance Kearse is into the lineup for Larry Sanders. And Silla back on the free throw line. 5:28 left. It's 51-39, 51-40 as Silla scores for Richmond. And that will give Silla 7 points, but he'll go sit down for the moment. Ed Nixon's going to bring it up to the middle of the floor. Nixon stops. Back to Anderson, leaves it for Eric Maynor. Maynor spins and Gonzalez there to match him. Off to Schuler. Schuler taking some time to give it over to Anderson now. The Rams work the offensive set to Ed Nixon. Shot clock at 10. Nixon the jump stop a little bit off. And the rebound to Gaston Moliva. The Spiders will go the other way. Butler across to Gonzalez. 11-point VCU advantage, under 5 minutes to play in the ball game.
And the clock starts to creep into the picture for Richmond now.
Oh, they had Jerome, and he dropped it. It's good ball movement, good offensive set there to get that defense moving, but Jerome couldn't hang on to the pass. So the Rams take it the other way. Anderson just cut off by Butler. There's a steal. Gonzalez had it altered, but Anderson's there to finish it. And that's 8 points for Kevin Anderson. And the Rams, a 30-second timeout taken by Richmond, has the lead down to 9 again. A 30-second timeout, so we're going to hold it right here for right now. Here's Butler a minute ago, just reaching across and cutting Anderson off to create the turnover.
Well, Michael Anderson has to be more cognizant, Robert, time and score. Right now, that ball is much more valuable to VCU with 30 more seconds off that clock than risking it taking down the floor when he didn't have to. There's no reason for him to taking that ball off the dribble.
A lot of block shots in this contest tonight. Take a look at 8 blocks for VCU to 3 for Richmond. And the turnovers now, the Rams they're cut down a little bit, whereas Richmond picked up, so it's kind of a reverse image of the first half.
Both teams struggling a little bit in the second half. The last numbers we have, VCU only 5 of 17 from the floor, Robert, 29%, but Richmond only checking in at 3 of 14 for 21%. So both teams picking it up on the defensive end for sure.
Anderson ahead to Ed Nixon. Nixon into the front court, cross court to Schuler. Back around to Eric Maynor, and the offense goes to work. Maynor on the runner. And a whistle and a foul on that run. Kevin Anderson picks up his 4th personal foul. That's a player the Spiders can ill afford to lose. Not only what he's done on the offensive side with the ball, but the pressure he's played on defense. He's had to make Maynor's got 22 points, of course, but he's been a presence defensively.
Well,
Maynor now with 23.
I mean, I'm impressed with Anderson, Robert. I think he brings a dimension they've lacked at the point over there for a couple years, and it'll be fun to watch his growth as a player. Certainly acquitted himself well here today. All 22 or 23 now of Eric's points didn't come off Kevin Anderson.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago, if I'm not mistaken, as Maynor scores his 24th, that they either had Moliva or Silla trying to run the point for them
right.
when Mooney first took over.
Yeah,
so.
That's what I mean. I mean, they haven't had a point guard of his caliber or his athleticism in quite a while.
Butler gets it right to Maynor. He threw it right at him. Maynor trying to break away. Anderson stops it. Ball loose on the floor for Ed Nixon to pick up. Ahead to Schuler. Ball batted into the air by the Spiders. It went over the backboard, and it will be VCU's ball as Mooney thinks it's his ball, but it was a Richmond player that knocked it over the backboard. We get a timeout. The ball seemed to be knocked by a Spider back up into the air and went over the backbone. Let's check in with Kelly Lemon now, who's standing by with Matt Smith, Farm Bureau Insurance. Kelly?
That's right. I have one of the main reasons why this game happens. Of course, the VCU and U of R is a tradition, but it's because of tradition, because of sponsors. We got Farm Bureau Insurance. Matt Smith, who is the marketing manager for Farm Bureau Insurance. Tell a little bit about what you do, what services you provide.
Kelly, we provide any sort of insurance services fans might want: auto, home, life, health, insurance, wide range of products, and we'd love to have you give us a call.
Matt, tell the fans out there watching how they can get in contact with you all.
You can log onto our website, vfbinsurance.com, or give us a call locally at 290-1000, and just let us know where you live, and they'll get you in touch with the office closest to you.
And on behalf of VCU Athletics and Ram Replay, we thank you guys for sponsoring this. We do have a little clip about Farm Bureau Insurance. Make sure you guys call Matt for all your insurance needs.
Local broadcast of VCU basketball is made possible in part by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Farm Bureau members are dedicated to providing locally grown and domestic foods for your family. The Virginia Farm Bureau, because agriculture matters.
(53-42). It's been that kind of ball game, tough and physical. And Mike Ellis has had his headset altered. You okay?
I think he fixed it.
I think you fixed it? Okay. Let's hope so, because if you didn't, you're going to be silent for the last 3.5.
My wife will be shocked at that because I actually fixed something. I'm not the handyman.
53-42, the Rams out in front. The VCU dancers at work tonight as well, as always, doing their usual outstanding job. And VCU has gotten control of this game, even though they've seen Richmond come back, but it's been Eric Maynor with 24 of the 53 points. He has put on a show tonight. Jamal Shuler's got 12. And the Rams go to work on the offensive attack. Inbound to Shuler from Maynor. Now VCU working out front on the offensive attack here. Ball is deflected out of bounds, last touched by Richmond. And the Spiders not sure that that's the case. But VCU will take possession of the ball. Eric Maynor takes it to the right side, leaves it out front to Jamal Shuler. Richmond shooting just 4 of 17 here in the second half. VCU 6 of 21. Out front, Anderson, he talks a three, and Michael Anderson from three-point land. That gives him 5. Now, Curse and Giroux get tangled up. And Lance Curse will be called for the foul.
Well, that started on the other end of the floor right there. Lance and Giroux got tied up. Look at Jamal taking off on the dribble, and he, given the guard's version of inside-out play, takes it in on penetration and kicks it right back out to the postman. I like that reversal there.
Yeah, you know, the VCU is so good when they set things up off penetration. And when Anderson's doing that, that just makes it even better. Free throw is good, and Dan Giroux now with 9. 56-43 with 3:19 left. VCU out in front. Second shot, no good, and Schuler with a rebound, and now VCU will control that. Michael Anderson coming into tonight. He's a 24% shooter behind the arc, but he's 3 of 9 coming into this game from three-point land, trying to improve that a little bit. Nixon tangled up with Moliva and a foul on Gaston Moliva. That's his 3rd.
Well, Moliva, they need his minutes, Robert, but I don't think he looks like he's in game shape and game ready now. They're going to need his minutes as they get into conference play in the Atlantic 10.
And he did miss, as they announced to the crowd, this is his first sellout of the season. This was a sold-out contest for the Farm Bureau Insurance Black and Blue Classic. Nixon's free throw is good. But, you know, you're looking at Ed Nixon here now. He's come into some minutes of late, playing well. And we talked about this a lot already this season. The second shot is no good, and the rebound to Gonzalez. Looking for that 3rd scorer, but it may be as a team rather than an individual to get that 3rd tally of points.
Well, I'm starting to think that's what it's going to be. We know we're going to get points out of our starting backcourt, but I think it's going to be a committee effort to get us up on that scoreboard. And I don't think Coach Grant's unhappy with that approach, Robert. I think on any given night, it could be a Michael Anderson. It could be, you know, a Joey Rodriguez. It could be a Will Famini chipping in. Or I'll tell you the guy that hasn't shown us offense yet that I think the coaches feel like it's on his way is Kirill Pashalnikov. You know, he can shoot the ball to 12, 14, 15 feet. He can score with his back to the basket. But right now, he's trying to get those minutes, as we talked about with Jamal over the last 3 years. He's trying to stay on the floor. So he's not showing that whole package yet. But these guys tell us that he can score. And I think as the season evolves, you're going to see him develop a little bit more on that offensive end.
57-44 with 2:52 left. Anderson makes them both. He is the first Spider to double figures with 10. Michael Anderson with the inbound. There are 3 Richmond players on the press. Ahead to Schuler. Quickly into the front court to Maynor. Now he'll just bring it back out. Maynor works it around. Drives the baseline. Leaner on the way. Just what a touch. That's 26 for Eric Maynor. That's just so, you cannot let him get that low. Can't let him drive in there like that.
No, and you can't let him go to his right. I think he can go to his left and score, but not as well as he goes right. You got to take his right hand away from him.
Nice tip by Schuler over to Maynor, and with 2:14 and counting, the Rams up by 14, 59-45, and Maynor just pretty much going now wherever he wants to go. They try to chase him down. He'll dish it off to Schuler. Schuler working down into the corner. At the moment, just a 2-man game with 12 seconds left. Schuler double teamed over to Maynor on the left wing. Nice pass, baseline, Anderson for the finish. That may be the exclamation point on this one.
It's a simple game when you make the simple pass.
Gonzalez launches a 3, and Curse a nice strong rebound and just hands it over to Eric Maynor. Maynor on the sideline to Schuler. Butler's got a hold of him, and that's a foul on Ryan Butler. 16-point lead for Anthony Grant's squad, the easiest they've been able to breathe all night. But the second half, they really choked things off. The Spiders, as we said, just weren't shooting that well in the second half. And a lot of that was certainly not due to them. They didn't get a lot of open looks. They had everything contested. As Schuler now with 13.
And they turned it over 12 times in the second half, Robert. I think that's the big difference in the ballgame. The defense of VCU started to look like the defense we've come to know and expect. It made a big difference. You know, Richmond checking in at the last time we got stats at 23% for the second half alone. They're at 31% for the game. So a great effort on the defensive end of the floor in a tough situation to play defense against this style of play.
Jamal Shuler with 14 now. And he and Maynor again now combining for 40. Anderson, another strong rebound. Now with 1:06 left, it's 63-45. VCU in front. There goes Maynor. Maynor double team, gives it to Anderson. Off to Ed Nixon. Maynor with Gonzalez on him. Back to Nixon with a spin. Almost lost his shorts. Schuler pulls up with a shot clock at 5 and rims out. Anderson trying to chase down a loose ball. He deflected it out of bounds. Eric Maynor with 26. His career high is 28. He did that against Houston last December. And he had 27 against Miami earlier this year.
Well, the shot clock's off, Robert. I don't think Coach Grant will want the Rams to score here when they don't have to put it up.
Schuler harassed at midcourt. And finally a whistle and a foul, as that's Duncan McLean in there.
But if they're going to foul, we'll certainly take the points. Well,
they were contesting that pass near midcourt, trying to double team the ball. Down 63-45. I'm sure VCU would have been content to let the clock run out. VCU ahead, of course. So here's Schuler back at the line. Jamal Shuler, thanks to Gary Williams, may forever be known as the other guy.
That's right.
Gary,
you know what? He can be our other guy. I love the kid. And we don't talk enough about the quality of kid that he is. We always talk about his ability to shoot it. You know, what a fine young man he is.
Second shot's good. That's 16. Gary Williams talking about the Rams attack and Eric Maynor and the other guy. I think you might want to know who that is. Down on the block, Harper, turnaround jumper, rattled out, rebound to Anderson. 18 seconds left. And VCU just content to let this go now, although the Spiders continue to come up, put pressure on the ball, down by 20. And a standing ovation now from the All-Tel Pavilion at the Siegel Center crowd, and that's it. VCU chokes off Richmond in the second half, and they win this game by 20, 65-45. For much of the game, Mike, it really wasn't a 20-point game, but I think later we saw the defensive pressure really taking effect and wear Richmond down, and that's the way this one goes. The Rams created more turnovers than they did in the first half, and they took better care of the ball, and they shot it pretty well as well. And Eric Maynor, of course, with 26 points. Well, you know, it's hard to slow anybody down when he's playing as well as he is.
Well, how often have we said that, Robert? You know, your words ring so true. We seem to wear them down, you know, and I think that's completely and totally by design. You know you're going to get that kind of effort defensively, and we've seen it time and time again to know that it happens by accident.
All right, Kelly Lemon is standing by now with Rams head coach Anthony Grant. Kelly.
Coach, one of the things you talked about going into the second half was defense. And, you know, we won by 20. How did the defense affect the second half of play?
I thought our defense the second half was tremendous. I think they scored 15 points in the second half. That's outstanding. We took much better care of the basketball. We had 10 turnovers in the first half. I thought did a much better job in the second half of valuing the ball and making plays. So it's a good win for us.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
There's the finish for VCU. They will end up with the trophy that goes to the winner, the Farm Bureau Insurance Black and Blue Classic. And, you know, for Richmond, it's been a long time. VCU, last Richmond win was December the 3rd, 2003. That trophy's been in the Rams' possession since the existence of the Black and Blue Classic, and VCU comes away with it again. Eric Maynor with 26, Jamal Shuler with 16. Eric Maynor is outstanding at getting the ball in the basket. Came in as just one of the 1-2 punch, and he took things over. There was a spot right there toward the end of the half where Eric Maynor took over. He had 4 points in the game, and he hit 8 straight points, Mike, toward the end of that half. The VCU was down. They were trailing going into the half, but Eric Maynor took over.
Well, he takes us from down 6, Robert, to up 1 at the half, and then he starts off the second half with 6 more in a row. He scored 14 in a row, and I tell you, single-handedly, he turned the whole ball game. I mean, and we were never really challenged after that.
There are the numbers you see. Richmond finishes with 29% shooting from the floor. At halftime, they were shooting 11 of 31 for 35.5%. So VCU coming away with a pretty good defensive effort. Three-point shooting, VCU picked it up a little bit in that category, finishing 6 for 15. And Richmond was 4 of 13, so it went down a little bit. But the turnovers, and not an extremely high number of turnovers for Richmond at 14, but they only had 2 at the half. So this is 12 turnovers in the second half, and that really turned it, as we said, talked about that. The block shots, 8 of them. And VCU's been very proficient at blocking shots, and Larry Sanders gets a lot of credit for that, but as well he should. But his presence makes guys think twice, and there are other guys who are blocking shots. Mashalikoff blocked a couple. Sanders had 3, so there were some other blocks in there as well.
No question, Robert. We have guys now that when you funnel people to the paint defensively, we've got guys there that can erase you with the basketball. Not only, as you mentioned, not only Larry, Kirill. You know, Kirill's starting to surprise me. I didn't expect that from him. And I think that's 2 games in a row with 2 block shots. And, you know, he has great timing down in there. Larry's got that 7'6" wingspan. Kirill's strong enough and then bouncy enough to knock you off the block and then try to challenge your shot and get a piece of it. So I love what's going on down there defensively.
Well, if we have time, we'll check in with the media room. Meanwhile, let's remind you of what's coming up. Longwood, 7:30, December the 15th. I do want to remind everybody that's this coming Saturday as you watch this next day Ram replay. VCU is teaming up with the Reach Out and Read program for that Longwood game. You bring a new children's book, you can receive a half-price general admission ticket to the game between the Rams and Longwood that night. That's 1 book for 1 half-price GA ticket only. We're teaming up with Reach Out and Read and teaming up with Henrico High School's Alexis Bennett. You saw the upcoming games, Bradley and JMU as well. Log on to VCUathletics.com for all information on the Rams, find out where the Rams are going next, who's going to be where, all the features and stats, and newly redesigned website, so we do invite you to check it out. So for VCU, an excellent win tonight. Norwood Teague will be along, I think, the middle of the week. We got a week for exams, so we'll see here what's going on with Norwood and Greg Burton for the March of the Madness every Wednesday at 11. An opportunity to talk with the VCU athletic director. Now, maybe about VCU certainly, but other things. And Mike, you've been part of helping to kind of produce the show a little bit and line up some guests. And as you said, we had Dick Tarrant and J.D. Barnett on the last time, so we're going to get different coaches to come in and give their thoughts about basketball, too.
And that was fun to hear two guys who were so successful in this rivalry and made two guys that had a lot to do with it being a big rivalry.
Absolutely.
And Dick Tarrant, J.D. Barnett. That was fun, Robert, to have both those guys on this week. And I think Norwood really enjoyed it. Got a lot of great feedback from our fans about hearing J.D. again. And I think we're really trying to reconnect with J.D., and I think he's been so appreciative of the efforts that have been made, and it's nice to have a guy like him back involved with our program.
Well, we look back at this game a little bit now, and what we see was, VCU got off to a great start. For a minute, it looked like they might just dominate this game, but credit to the Spiders. They look like a different team. They certainly had some struggles in the second half, but you see a little bit more of their athleticism coming to the forefront now, and an opportunity for them to try to get a little bit better. So.
Well, they are better, Robert. They are better. But as we said, you got to walk before you can run, and I think they have to start to believe that they can win basketball games. They can compete. They competed tonight, for 30 minutes of this ball game. Kind of got away from them late in the game, but that's our style of play. That's imposing our will on this game. They're not quite to that point yet, but it wasn't so long ago we weren't at that point either. We've got a great guy coaching our basketball team. Chris Mooney's been successful, and there's no doubt to think that there's no reason to think he won't be successful again. So they just got to take those infant steps, and they'll be running soon.
65-45, the Rams win this game. Back with more of our post-game thoughts and activity after we get this word from our good friends at VCU Health System.
It's important to me to work in a cancer center that is conducting research. Being an NCI-designated cancer center, we are able to integrate the different specialties caring for patients with cancer. It's very satisfying to know that some of the work is done here is then transmitted to other physicians. Our goal here is not only to fight cancer, but to cure it.
VCU Massey Cancer Center.
I think that somebody would want to come to VCU Medical Center because we're not only are we passionate doctors, but we're educators and we're researchers. To do research and education, you have to have an intimate knowledge of orthopedics, and it's that increased knowledge of orthopedics that I believe makes us better doctors. Ambulances, helicopters will go right past many hospitals to take the patients here when it reaches a certain complexity. When you deal with those types of problems, it's always extremely rewarding.
All right, welcome back to Ram Replay, VCU Game of the Week. Robert Fish, Mike Ellis here. Looking at the final numbers for this contest, 25 for Eric Maynor. I had him for 26, but I guess he got 25 according to the stat sheet. Then 16 for Jamal Shuler. Anderson led the way. Kevin Anderson led the way for Richmond with 10. And then I believe we had 7 from Silla for them, 9 for Dan Giroux. And I saw a note before the game, and interestingly enough, for whatever it means for Richmond, Gonzalez and Giroux are their top 2 scorers, but they've only been in double figures in the same game once this season. Contrast that with Eric Maynor and Jamal Shuler, and then it's a totally, you see why the Rams are having such good success.
Sure, we talk about consistency within our own squad. It's Richmond searching desperately for some consistency out of the 2 guys that they really, really have to have it from to be successful. They need those 2 guys to score. Again, they got to walk before they can run, but they need those guys to start to walk a little faster.
All right, this edition of Ram Replay, of course, we thank all the folks